responding to a phishing email. Now, how did they respond? Podesta gave out that his password was the word password. His own staff said, this email that you've received, this is totally legitimate. So this is something a 14-year-old kid could have hacked
based on
Podesta that way. In relation to computer security and Hillary Clinton's security, those Secretary of State emails, if you read closely FBI reports and the emails that we released related to Hillary Clinton, you'll see Huma Aberdeen had access to them. A variety of technicians at this very small IT company had access to them. They were shipped through the post in a laptop. She had over a dozen different devices keyed in to have access to them, her iPad, etc. She made almost no attempt to keep them secure from states. Now, was she trying to keep them secure from the Republicans? Well, probably. But in terms of foreign states, almost no attempt.
The reason we have these laws, though, are for transparency, and she wanted to avoid congressional oversight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's absolutely my interpretation as well. Now, Wikileaks has been a very strong proponent of the Freedom of Information Act. This is probably actually, if you think about it, probably against our interests as a publisher. But we believe that people have the right to know true information about what the government is doing. Now, the Freedom of Information Act has been subverted. We published Sarah Palin's emails. Why? Because she had, when she was governor of Alaska, she maintained an account that was being used, intentionally or not, to evade the Alaskan Freedom of Information Act. So we published them back in 2008.
And coming up, WikiLeaks Hannity. So during my exclusive interview with Julian Assange, we discussed how WikiLeaks exposed the rampant collusion between the mainstream media here in America and the Clinton campaign. Let's take a look.
I said in my country, Julian, that journalism is dead. I said it in 2008 because I was investigating Barack Obama and his backgrounds and his associations and his career and his lack of knowledge and his radical belief system. And everybody in the media ignored a lot of it. So my question to you then is, now knowing what WikiLeaks revealed about the Podesta emails, on Clinton corruption, on pay-to-play, on Bernie Sanders being cheated, all of this is revealed. Not a lot of it was covered. So what does that say to the American people about media coverage in America? Dishonest?
It's very dishonest. Corrupt is interesting. It depends on your definition. If you look at what we published in the Podesta emails,
if they're colluding with Hillary, that's not corrupt.
It's ethical corruption.
They're not identifying it to their audiences. They claim that they're objective journalists.
It's ethically corrupt. Corrupt by corruption also means something in law, which is that you're taking money in exchange.
Okay.
So I don't think that
collusion.
They're colluding, yeah.
Okay, because they share her political agenda. Well, why else would they collude? Or they hate Donald Trump?
I think that's an optimistic interpretation, that they share the political agenda.
Well, explain that.
It's more like, you rub my back, I'll rub yours. I'll give you, I'll give you information. You'll come to my, I'll invite you to my child's christening or our next big party, or do you know what I mean? We go to school
or a state dinner.
Yeah. So I think it's more, sadly, I think it's along those lines.
But I look at this list of what WikiLeaks exposed for...
Can I just go back to this media question? What is the line now in the New York Times, MSNBC? Okay. The line is that WikiLeaks changed the result of the election. Okay. And as editor of WikiLeaks, we're quite happy to have the credit for exposing the corruption and behavior that was occurring in that Clinton team, and the DNC fixing things in relation to Bernie Sanders. We're quite happy to accept that.
Was that your motivation? Was your motivation to influence the election, or is your motivation, what is your motivation? Is it fidelity to truth?
My motivation for maybe 20 years, but 10 years with WikiLeaks has been to publish true information that is otherwise unsayable. So we're not in competition, if you like.
You have no political agenda.
That is a political agenda. We have
expose the government corruption?
It's not a party political agenda. It's a philosophical agenda. We believe that the best type of government comes from a government that is scrutinized by the people when they have true information about how government and major corporations and other power actors in society actually behave.
Let me ask this. As a conservative, one of the things that shocked me about the revelations with WikiLeaks in this election cycle, it drove me crazy for years. The narrative that would be used by the Democrats about conservatives like myself as Republicans are racist, that they're sexist, that they're homophobic, that they're misogynistic, Islamophobic, xenophobic, all those lines are used. And what was fascinating, and not many people wanted to pay attention to it, and I think that's because of the media collusion, is they were exposed as using racial language, being anti-Semitic, homophobic, which led to, on the eve of the Democratic convention, Debbie Wasserman Schultz being fired. That, to me, was the type of thing that you sort of like open a window and things are not often the way they appear. Is this now a new reality going forward in terms of if the media is not going to do their job, there are going to be more WikiLeaks in the future?
Well, I certainly hope so.
And coming up,
you also released the Afghanistan war logs. You released the Iraqi war logs. You released U.S. diplomatic cables in November of 2010, the Guantanamo files. You released more U.S. diplomatic cables, released the Syria files leading up to this. Here's my question about this, because I've come to believe that you've done two things that have been extraordinarily helpful to the United States, and I think journalism in a way. One is you showed us that we do not have cybersecurity. You acknowledge that. And two, I think in this election in particular, you exposed a level of corruption that I, for 30 years on the radio as a conservative, knew existed, and I was shocked at the level of corruption, duplicity, dishonesty, manipulation. So there's a lot of good here. Where's a line for you? In other words, if lives are in jeopardy, is that a line? Privacy for individuals, is that a line? If you were to be handed information about a private citizen, a Hollywood actor.
Well, let's look at the practice. As editor of WikiLeaks, I'm very proud of three things. Number one, we've never got it wrong in terms of what we say a document is, it is.
What you have printed, what you have revealed has never been
been shown to be
years.
fake, and not even is there any outstanding allegation that it is. Okay. Number two, we have never revealed one of our sources ever. So that's a.
Today you can reveal the source of the Podesta emails. That would make a lot of news.
Yeah, and that would be the end of WikiLeaks.
Exactly.
So,
but you did say it's not Russia. And you don't like to say that.
We have, in the past, occasionally on particular issues where we think that, there's a distraction from the publications that's so severe that we have to kind of distance ourselves from it and prevent a vacuum, basically, being fueled by any old rubbish. Okay, so to that. Number three, what are we proud of? We are proud that there's not a single instance of anyone coming to physical harm as a result of our publication.
Let me ask you, have you made conscious decisions as the founder and editor to withhold information because you thought the release of such information would result in somebody's death? In other words, means, methods.
Where we thought there was a significant risk.
You're very conscious of that.
Yeah.
And that's an ethical standard for you.
Yes, and so, but we're always transparent about it, okay?
You'll say that you're not
We say, we're withholding this piece of information for a limited time until such time as we think that there's not a significant risk that someone might face retribution. We're totally transparent about it. So unlike other media organizations, you just see huge redactions with no explanation as to why that information has been redacted or been withheld. And I can tell you that I know from practice, having dealt with more than 110 different media organizations in collaborative partnerships, that very often information is withheld for political reasons, and it is then passed off that it is being withheld in order to protect individuals. So redactions are deeply corrupting. And we are fighting to set a new standard.
You're describing the New York Times. You're describing ABC, NBC, CBS, Politico. You're describing the mainstream media in America.
And
Wikileaks has shown this.
We had similar problems with The Guardian, Le Monde, El País. Now, there were also fine journalists who did good work. So it's not everyone. But there were critical cases where information that we shared in a partnership agreement under the basis that would only be redacted for human rights reasons, protecting someone's life, was redacted to protect oil companies working in Kazakhstan, or Yulia Tymoshenko, the former leader who's accused of all sorts of murders in Ukraine. So here's the basic problem with censorship. Once again, it creates an opaque system where people can't see what were the reasons for the censorship. In the justice system, we say there must be open justice for there to be justice. The judge, while trying, must themselves be tried before the public.
Is it fair to say
it doesn't happen when a media organization is